All right, friends, another day, another opportunity to translate the Greek New Testament together. Let's look at John chapter 1, verses 35 and following, and see what we can do and what we can recognize. Remember, we're just doing our best. There's always going to be words we don't know, there's going to be forms we don't recognize. That's okay. Don't get frustrated by that, okay? We're going to go with what we know. We're going to do our best to engage and get better. But remember, there's always going to be stuff we don't know, okay? So we need to get comfortable with that, and we need to get comfortable with just doing our best using the helps available to us as we go along. All right. So John 1:35, te aparion pollen hastake ha ioannes kai ekton matheton autu dua. And you notice that it keeps going. There's no period or comma there, but the kai is going to kind of punctuate that for us. So we'll come back to that. We can stop at the verse for right now. Sometimes we need to keep going to finish the thought, but it's okay for right now. And on the next day, again, John was standing, and two from his disciples. Okay, so John was standing there with two of his disciples. Kai emblepsas to Iesu, peripatunti lege, ide ha amnas tu theou. And looking at Jesus walking, he said, so you get the idea, right? John's standing there with two of his disciples, and Jesus walks by, okay? John is going to look at him, and he sees Jesus walk by, and he's going to say, ide ha amnas tu theou. Behold the Lamb of God. Okay, remember we saw this before. He said this the day before, and he kind of prophesied about Jesus and said who he was. He's doing this again on the next day. He says, behold the Lamb of God. Verse 37. Kai ekusan hoi dua mathetai autu laluntas kai ekaluthesan to Iesu. And his two disciples, notice this whole thing right here is all going to be the subject. His two disciples heard this is a participle. Heard what was said, essentially, is kind of what that's going to mean. The thing being spoken, something like that. Heard the thing said and followed Jesus. Okay, so John's standing there with his two disciples. Jesus is going to walk by. John's going to say about Jesus, behold the Lamb of God, and the disciples are going to go, oh, well, let's follow the Lamb of God then. That makes sense, okay? And they do. Verse 38. Strophes de ha Iesus kai theasamenas autus akaluthuntas lege autois ti zetete hoi de epan auto Rabbi ha legatai meth ermenu amanon, and then a great word, meth ermenu amanon, didaskale pu menes. Okay, a lot going on here. So, and Jesus turning and seeing them. Okay, there's a lot of participles in this passage for today. This is kind of why I was saying there's a lot you don't know. Eventually, you'll learn participles, and this will all make sense, but hang tight for right now. Turning and seeing them, following, lege, here's a verb we know. He said, who's the he? Well, it's Jesus, right? Okay. He said to them, te zetete. Now, zetete is one of the verbs you're learning this chapter, right? It's one of our contract verbs, okay? So we have some contraction going on. We see our circumflex there like we would expect, okay? T zetete. What do you seek? Or what do you seek? Who are you seeking? That sort of thing. What do you guys want? Sort of is what we would probably say in English, right? Notice the question mark here on the end. Hoi de epan auto. And they said to him, Rabbi, which being interpreted says teacher, right? In other words, he's just interpreting the word for you. Rabbi, which means teacher, where are you staying? Where are you remaining? That sort of thing. Like where are you? Where's your apartment? Where's your house, Jesus? Where are you staying? Okay. Verse 39. Lege autois erkesthe kai obsesthe. Eilthon un kai edon pu mene kai par autu amenon tain hemeron akenain hora ein hos decate. Okay. He said to them, Erkesthe kai obsesthe, come and see. They went, therefore, and saw where he was staying, and they remained with him that day. Notice the accusatives here. They remained with him that day. It was about decate, okay, dec, like decade, the 10th hour. It was about the 10th hour. Now remember, in the ancient world, they count hours of daylight. So what is the 10th hour? That's going to be like 4 or 5 p.m., something like that, right? Kind of late in the day. So not 10th hour like 10 p.m., like that late. But if you're counting hours of daylight and it starts to get light at about 6, or maybe gets light at about 6:30 or 7, 10 hours after that, you're looking at 4:30, something like that. And so they just spend the evening with him, and they remain with him that day, right? And he presumably teaches them, they get to know him, that sort of thing, okay? Makes you wonder what those encounters were like, right, in those early days. Verse 40. Ein Andreas ha adelphas Simonas Petru heis ectu dua ton accusanton para Ioannou kai akaluthesonton, akaluthesanton auto. It was Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, one of the two of the ones who heard from John and followed him. Okay, notice a lot of big words in there. That whole sentence is essentially names and participles and a couple pronouns in there, right? Okay, that's what we see. But are the stuff are you recognizing? Are you noticing the parts of speech, the couple verbs, the participles, that sort of thing? These participles, you just need help with because you don't know them yet, right? But we want to recognize those other parts. Okay, 41. Heuriske hutas proton ton adelphon ton idion Simona kailege auto Heurekamen ton mession ha esten meth ermenuamenon Christos. There's that word again. One of the most fun words for early Greek students to read. Meth ermenuamenon. Lots of syllables. Greek loves to just tack on a whole bunch of syllables onto a word. Okay. He, or this guy, remember this is hutas, this. In this case, it's probably just going to be he. He found, or he finds first his own brother Simon, and he says to him, we have found, what do you think Messian is? Yeah, the Messiah. We have found the Messiah, which is being interpreted Christ, okay? Messiah is the Hebrew word, which we have transliterated here. Christos is the Greek word, right? So Messiah and Christ mean the same thing, and John's telling us here, we have found the Messiah, which is interpreted Christ, okay? Last verse we'll do here today, verse 42. Egagen auton pros ton iesun, emblepsos autu ha iesus apen, su e Simon ha huias Ioannou, su kleithese kephas ha hermeneutai Petros. Okay? He led him to Jesus. Who's the he? Okay? Well, remember, it was Andrew up above, Andrew, Andreas, okay? And notice that this word Andrew, by the way, related to aner. The genitive is andros, okay? So it means like manly, That's what the name Andrew means, okay? So Andrew led him. Who's the him? Well, it's Simon. Led him to Jesus. So he goes and finds his brother. Remember, he's following John. John says, "Behold the Lamb of God," about Jesus. Okay, they start following him, and they spend the evening with Jesus, learning from him, teaching from him, getting to know him. And Andrew is moved enough by that. He's convinced enough by that conversation that he goes and finds his brother and says, "We have found the Messiah." And he takes him to Jesus. Jesus, looking at him, said, "You are Simon, the son of Ioannu." Jonah is usually how they translate it in English. Can also be John, okay? John or Jonah. "You are Simon, son of Jonah. You will be called Cephas," which is translated or is interpreted Peter. Okay? You'll be called Cephas, that's Aramaic, which is interpreted Peter. Okay? So we don't have in John the Peter's confession of Christ like we do in Matthew 16, where Jesus changes Peter's name from Simon to Peter. You are rocky, and on this rock I will build my church, right? That's where Petros essentially means rock, or rocky. We don't have that. We just have it right here at the front, right? In John, as soon as Jesus sees Peter, he says, "Simon, son of Jonah, you will be called Cephas," which is interpreted Peter. Okay? So some stuff in there that you didn't know, but some stuff that you did. We want to just reinforce that stuff you do know. We want to get comfortable engaging with, sitting in, practicing the Greek New Testament. Good job, guys. We'll keep going with John next time. God bless.